So I don't know. Should I do the intro? Should I jump out my window?
Well, don't jump out of your window because we're all quarantined. That would not be a good thing.
Well,
So if you can somehow jump out of your window and stay in your house, I think you'd be successful.
it's so weird because I'm so used to being able to basically touch you while we're recording, and this just feels so inauthentic versus what we normally do.
It's a little disjointed, but it's the nature of the beast right now, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, let's just start talking, man. I think we just start. Screw an intro. I'll just put the intro music at the beginning, and we'll just start going.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that too. I thought we were doing the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think people might actually enjoy hearing us struggle to get this to work, so they can kind of understand what we're going through right now. It's a pain in the ass.
It is a pain in the ass. The whole process is a pain in the ass, and I'm trying to do it for several different shows right now, man, and it's crazy. Because there's a piece of equipment that makes this really, really easy, extremely easy, and it's like basically a super duper, super powered walkie-talkie system, but they are $4,900 a piece, and you have to have two in order for them to work.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
You guys got one laying around
Yeah,
somewhere?
yeah. So in case anyone's a little confused, because our mic quality should sound pretty good because we're recording,
Yeah.
but we're recording in separate rooms right now.
Separate rooms, separate locations.
Yeah, we're in Cory's at the Studio G, and I'm at my house, just in my bedroom, which is also just a weird thing. I'm literally wearing pajama pants right now. It very much. It feels weird, man. This whole situation just feels like a Stephen King novel, doesn't it?
It does. A lot of people have said, I've read online where a lot of people say it seems like we're living in a movie.
Yeah, so since we talked last week, which by the way, that's our most viewed episode by far. So
And we got to thank all of the Jake and Cory podcast people out there. Thank you so much for giving us some love.
yeah, but since then, it's basically gotten worse. Everything is closed. If you want food, it's basically takeout only. You can't sit down to eat anywhere. You can't go to the movie theaters. They're all closed. We're not even in the same room. I mean, things have really escalated quickly, haven't they?
They have, and it may feel like it's gotten out of control and worse, but in some instances it has. I think it's just a little different. You know, you mentioned the restaurants, and I've had to disconnect from the news. I really have. I've had to turn it off. It's because, dude, I literally started feeling like I was having a panic attack last week.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I mean, it feels like our whole world turned upside down in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, and who knows, not to bring the mood down, but who knows how many businesses could even pull through this, you know? There's talks right now that even AMC can't survive being closed for as long as it's probably going to be closed.
Well, there are some businesses that aren't going to be able to survive this very well, and then there are other businesses that are thriving right now. There are,
Well, of course,
just for
yeah.
anybody that might be listening to this, ABC 15, visit their website. There is a list of companies that are hiring right now. A list of companies that are hiring because they need more help. A lot of production and manufacturing is being rebooted in this country.
Yeah. I mean, I know Amazon, their whole like all their shipping and all that stuff, it still needs to happen. Like people still need to get their stuff. So,
Yeah.
and they're getting far more orders than usual, and they're getting less product than usual because a lot of places are closed. So it's a really interesting dynamic when you look at it from that perspective. But
It almost seems like, Jake, that there are equal bad to the good at this point. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
You've got Amazon that is making money hand over fist. And part of Amazon's business model is stock, especially when they rolled out Prime. So their Prime members benefit from the fact that Amazon pre-buys a lot of their stuff. Like before we started this show, just to give you a little insight, before we started the show, I needed a new laptop because there may come a time where I'm not even going to be able to get in the Studio G. So I need a laptop from home that will be able to do what we do. So I went to Amazon, ordered a laptop, and it's still delivered in 2 days. And the reason why Amazon's able to pull that off is because Amazon pre-bought a lot of things. They have a stockpile of stuff in their warehouses. That's why they're able to still hold up to a lot of their delivery times of 2 days.
Yeah. I mean, I know, I don't know if there's some companies that are definitely going to benefit from this. I don't know if it's necessarily equal goods to bad. I think ultimately it's pretty bad. It's a pretty bad situation we're in. I remember a few weeks ago we were talking about GameStop, and they're in, like, what's going on with GameStop right now is really surprising. Because like we talked about a few weeks ago, before all this hit, we were talking about how GameStop is sort of struggling to hold on. And they're keeping all of their stores open. And the reason they're staying open is because they say they are essential. They're like, because, you know, like the government is shutting down businesses that are not essential right now. And GameStop is claiming they're essential because people need something to do while they're quarantined.
From a video gamer standpoint, because you're a gamer, how do you feel? Do you find GameStop essential?
I think that's bullshit, because I think most people can buy their games online. You can also, like, I just got a game shipped to me yesterday. Like, you don't have to go to the store to pick it up. The reason GameStop is doing this is because if you look at their profit margins right now, they're up substantially, because they're right. People want to buy video games right now. So they don't want to close because they need to make that money. And also, if they close, they might be one of those companies that just doesn't recover from it.
I don't think that the video gaming industry will ever suffer a complete and utter catastrophic loss. They might have a downturn, but I don't think that they'll ever go away.
Well, the gaming industry isn't going to go away, but GameStop might, you know.
The storefront. I'm surprised they're still open, because isn't everything online now? I can't remember the last time my 19-year-old college student son has ever bought a physical game.
See, I buy physical games because I like to have a little collection, but most of the time I'll just buy it online, either from Amazon or Best Buy online. And if I do buy it from GameStop, I have it shipped to myself. I don't need to go in the store to pick it up, you know?
Yeah, my kid has a huge Microsoft account, or whatever that thing is called.
Yeah.
And that's where his games
Like Xbox
come from. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know what gaming system he has, but
yeah. Well, if it's
can't
Microsoft,
get into
it's
that.
Xbox.
Yeah, so it must be Xbox or whatever. But I haven't seen him buy or order a physical game in forever.
Well, GameStop is doing spectacular right now because everyone wants to play games, and GameStop can go in there and they can mark down games because they know people are coming in right now. So they're like, let's take advantage of this opportunity and just make a ton of money, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
Which, you know,
I don't
good
know,
on them. I mean,
but do you think that they are essential? Do you think that GameStop as a company is essential?
In fact, I think it's irresponsible that they're staying open.
I actually received an email from one of the main vendor for the Fat Guy Radio Show's merch store.
Yeah.
And because the federal government has ordered non-essential companies to close, my store has been closed.
Oh man,
temporarily.
that sucks.
My merch store is
I've heard.
My merch store just got shut down.
Yeah, dude, this is affecting everyone, like from big to small. You know, you brought up the video game industry and how it can't fall, but it got me thinking. And you know, this is definitely the least of anyone's worries. But I've been thinking about it because I'm an avid gamer, and
yeah,
you know, how many games are going to get delayed because of this? Because people can't go into the office to work on their games. You know, there's only so much you can really do at home while working on a game like that, you know? So there's going to be tons of games that are going to be delayed, and it's probably going to affect a lot of smaller studios. It might even affect some of the bigger studios. I mean, the same goes for movies. You know, think about how many productions are going on right now that can't even film. So, I mean, it's affecting everyone, especially in the entertainment business.
I have to somewhat cordially disagree a little bit. I can't really, when it comes to video games, because it's all about, from what I know, and I'm coming from a place of ignorance, from what I know, it's just, you know, it's programming and stuff like that. But I know that also it's teams that sit and program and build these games, right?
It's a lot of communication that goes on there as well. And, you know, to have the kind of rig that you need to actually develop a game, you probably don't have that at your house. You probably have it at the office. So
yeah, and movies, I think that there is a better chance for game developers to still do some work in this temporary situation.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so for the movie industry, man, I think that's a 100% deadlock. And I feel a little closer to that. Like, you're a little closer to the video gaming industry. I'm a little closer to movie and film production, because
I'm pretty close to that as well. You know?
There is hundreds of people that have to be in one confined area in order to, you know, shoot a scene, and there's no way that you can do that right now.
Yeah,
so
and
you
definitely don't want to put like those big guys at risk either, because that just looks really bad on you as a studio. Like a Brad Pitt. Like if Brad Pitt got sick because he was on your movie set, that's just really bad PR that you don't want as well.
And insurances are not going to cover you. If you have someone that you demanded to be somewhere and they contracted this, and let's say that they don't have health insurance, so they decide to sue you for their health care bills, your business insurance is not going to step in for you, because you have been warned to not have a certain amount of people in one space. Now, let's flip about the other half of this. The young people that are just neglecting this situation in totality. Like, the Florida beaches are wide open, and thousands of people, young people, are still congregating. What are your thoughts on that?
That was true a few days ago, and I chalk that up to a lot of denial from a lot of people that just don't want to accept what's going on, especially from young people. They just don't want to accept it. If you look at the Florida beaches now, that's not the case. I think people are starting to...
You think people are starting to get the idea?
Yeah, definitely. But I also think, like, you know, people are maybe freaking out a little bit too much as well. There's no need to really freak out that much. Unless you have a business, I completely understand why you'd freak out in that scenario. But, like, I don't know. We're going to be fine. Like, everything's going to be all right, you know?
It seems like you've hit a 180 from last week, bro.
No, I still keep the same positions from last week.
Fire and brimstone. World is going to hell. Get ready for anarchy. It's time for the purge.
I still think the truth of the matter is we're going to enter a new recession, at the very least, if not worse. I still stand by that. But as far as the disease goes, we're gonna be okay.
I don't think we're going to hit a deep recession. I think that we're going to bounce back from what the stock markets are doing right now. And also, some news that was just released a few days ago is 70% of the people in China where this began have recovered.
Yeah, and it came because of a lot of what we're trying to implement now, where it's don't go outside,
Right.
don't go to groups, keep
Yep.
your groups within. Well, I think China was even harder. It's like just you can't leave your house.
China locked their citizens away.
Yeah.
They
Which
barred their doors shut.
We can't really do that here because of
No.
the freedoms we enjoy, but
will our freedoms kick us in the ass at the end of the day?
yeah, and that's the real question. But I think every concert is being closed, or being postponed or canceled. Every restaurant is being closed. All the movie theaters are being closed. Big gatherings are being shut down. I think that alone is going to put a huge, it's going to lower the curve substantially. Just that alone.
It's huge. And I think what's also going to flatten the curve is what the hot phrase is.
Yeah.
I think what's going to flatten the curve is that once these tests are out, there's a lot of testing that is going on right now. There is an influx of testing that's taking place. As more tests flood the market, the numbers are going to continue to go up. But what's going to happen is that as soon as we have a surplus of those tests, that's when it's going to flatten out. Because what's going to happen is that all the people that need to be tested are going to be tested, and then more people are not going to need to be tested. The reason why the numbers keep climbing every day is because we've got a whole lot of tests that are sitting in the queue right now. So we can say that there are 15 more diagnoses today, but those are tests that were performed or swabbed maybe 3 or 4 days ago.
Right. And I think it's going to freak a lot of people out when we do get tests more readily, because the numbers are going to go up pretty substantially, because I think there's a lot of people right now who just can't be tested who probably do have it. And when those tests come, the numbers are going to go up dramatically. But it's nothing to be scared of as long as our health providers have what they need and we're not overfilling hospitals. We're going to be okay. It's going to be all right. And that's why we're doing what we're doing,
And I will give you some insight because I have some personal connections to the largest healthcare provider here in the state of Arizona. And I can tell you right now that as of yesterday, the hospitals in this largest provider, and I will leave that provider nameless, the hospitals are still at low capacity.
That's good.
Our hospitals are not flooded. Our hospitals are not overly ready. But what they are doing is that the hospitals are preparing now before the potential of something of a influx happens. Because what I had a friend of mine that actually took her daughter into her doctor because her daughter was exhibiting symptoms of COVID-19. She took her into the doctor's office. They performed the swab, and they sent her home. And her daughter was 17 years old. They performed the swab and sent her home, and now she's just waiting for the test results.
Is that all it is? They just do like a little mouth swabby?
It's not a mouth swab. There's two that can be performed. There's a swab that goes to the back of the nose, and there's a swab that goes to the back of the throat. Like it's the same test like for the flu. Same test. What's the delay are the cultures that are needed to put that swab into. That's where the delay is coming from.
Yeah.
That's when they say testing, it's not that they can't perform the test. It's just that they can't.
It takes a while to get the results.
Well, they can't put the test in the culture that is needed. So they take that little swab that they stuck into the back of your throat or the back of your nose, and then they have to put that into a little cylindrical tube that has some goop at the bottom of it. That cylindrical tube with goop at the bottom of it, that's what we're short on.
And all the rumors I've heard is that they're working on a new process to make it quicker and faster. So
Yeah, and they are, and a lot of stuff is coming in, but I have some direct connections into the healthcare industry here, specifically in the state of Arizona, and I'm telling you right now, man, there's some amazing work that's being done right now. It's just coming down to the fact of supplies.
you're like, do you know who Rick Harrison is?
No, I'm not familiar with Rick Harrison.
From Pawn Stars. You ever watch Pawn Stars?
With Chumley on it?
Yeah, with Chun Li or whatever.
Rick Harrison is the owner.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and he has a horrible cough.
You're like Rick Harrison because you're always like, oh, I know a guy that I can call. Like, I know a guy in the healthcare professional business, you know. I know someone from Food Network. You're always like
And I will say this, on groceries, you were talking about, how grocery stores and stuff. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm a germaphobe by heart, so me being quarantined isn't anything different from what I normally do in my life.
yeah.
So
Same. As a gamer, I relate.
I was, so those that are in Arizona, and this may be for people that listen to this in other places in the country. I'm not sure for anybody overseas, but in Arizona, we have Walmart pickup delivery. We have Safeway food pickup delivery or Safeway food pickup or Safeway food delivery. I totally hit up the Walmart delivery or the Walmart pickup thing today. I was able to order about $100 worth of groceries, was able to get milk, was able to get, of course, pasta was still out of stock, but I was able to get a lot of the essential things for my son. And then I don't have to go into the store at all. I just pull up right to the drive-up counter. I was able to pick the time that I want to be there, and they bring the groceries out to me. I love that. So I don't have to go to the grocery store. That was one thing I was afraid. That was the one fear that I had, was going into the grocery store and being in there with the rest of the knuckle dragging baboons just to be able to try to score some milk.
Yeah, and you can still order food from stores, via Postmates. Postmates will pick up food for you if you need it, and there's a lot of ways to get food delivered. All the restaurants are still open. You can still buy food that way too if you're really needing to. There's totally methods.
Can I bring up an argument that I had on social media?
Please.
So you talked about the restaurants being open, and I was listening to one of the press conferences with Governor Ducey and the CEO of local AZ.
More like Governor Douchey, am I right?
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He's not on my Christmas list, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. But nevertheless, there was the owner of Local AZ, which is a group, which is an organization that supports buying local and local businesses and local small businesses. And she was trying to encourage everyone to continue to support their local businesses, especially restaurants. So I put up on my social media, I put up a question to Local AZ. I says, okay, you're encouraging us to go and continue to support these small businesses, especially restaurants. But what reassurances do you give us that these restaurants and small businesses are enhancing their current protocol to keep us customers safe when we do?
Well, I think if you're planning on going and getting Taco Bell anyway, it might benefit you to go to a smaller, it won't benefit you, but it'll benefit your community to go to the smaller places. If you're already going to buy food from one of those places anyway, you might as well go to a smaller restaurant.
The only company that has come out publicly stating that their restaurants have been stepping up their cleanliness, they're gloving all of their employees, they're checking their fevers to make sure that they're not sick before they come to work. There's only one company that has publicly come out and done this, and that's Burger King. Burger King released a new commercial showing their employees with gloves on, testing them for fever, and making sure that they're safe, encouraging people to still come to Burger King's and eat and get food. And I went to Burger King last night because of that commercial.
I have gone to a few places, like I went to Taco Bell today. Everywhere I've gone, they're all wearing gloves.
Good.
They're
Yes.
all of their insides are closed. There's nowhere to sit down inside.
I
You can
think
pick
that
up your
needs to
food.
be made
Everyone's wearing
public right
gloves,
now.
and even a lot of places are using trays for you to like place your card into.
I love
So
that.
I think most places are implementing that.
But I think that they need. I think that the local AZ company that's promoting these small businesses, I think she needs to put that out there. I think that that organization needs to put that out there, that she wants us to go, but she's got to tell us that. I says, what demands are you putting on these small businesses? Because a lot of these Taco Bell, Burger King, these fast food restaurants, these are large corporations.
Right.
They've got boards and stuff that are making but mom and pop Paradise Valley Burger, they're part of Local AZ's organization.
Yeah.
What is Local AZ telling Paradise Valley Burger to do? Is Paradise Valley Burger doing more? Are they wearing gloves? Are their employees safe? Is there any mandate coming down from our government officials to the small businesses that want to stay open?
I mean, I went to my favorite local pizza place yesterday, actually. And as I drove up, they were sanitizing the door handles. As I walked in, they were wearing gloves, especially the person who was like taking my card and stuff. I mean, I think everyone's taking the same precautions. I don't know why you wouldn't. It seems pretty obvious at this point, especially if you're a small business owner. I think if someone showed up to your business and you weren't doing that, they'd be a little concerned at this point.
Well, I wouldn't put it past, because small businesses, you have to realize that spending an additional $250 to $500 on gloves that have to be changed out every hour, that can be a substantial cost to a small business. So I would say that if there isn't a governmental mandate for them to do this, if they don't have to, they may not do it. Man, $500 extra a month to a small business could be a huge sock in the gut.
Well, you know what else is a huge sock in the gut to small businesses is people not going there. So I think it behooves everyone to, if you're gonna eat out anyway, you should go to a small business.
But
we should try and keep these small businesses open, unless their food is shit. In which case, let them close.
but then I don't want the government offices or some of our government officials telling me to go to these small businesses, but then the government officials are not telling these small businesses what extra precautions they need to take. That was my argument. They're not telling us what they're telling the small businesses.
Everyone should be listening to, what's his name, Anthony Fauci, the head of the CDC. I mean, everyone should just be listening to that guy. He should really be the one that everyone's listening to.
Yep.
And if they're listening to him, then they should know what to do.
I hope so. But then also,
as far as it goes with him, sorry,
that's okay.
As far as it goes with him, he's saying, we're taking more precautions than we need to, and that's a good thing. If we're taking it to an extreme, that's a good thing. If we're being taking too many precautions, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That means we're going to beat this thing like no problem.
What's interesting is that in France, they shut France down pretty much because of this, and they've just been devastated over there, but they also have, a slower, they were a little slower to react than America was. So they've been hit really, really hard. But one thing that's happened, and I don't know if you're aware of this, Jake, but nature has taken over. Like their canals and stuff, the fish have returned. The swans have returned. There are things that nature is able to do now that nature wasn't able to do because of the human interaction with it.
I almost feel like we should do this every year, just to
just shut it down for 2 weeks. Let the earth breathe
for a month, even. Let's just shut down for a month. Do what we're doing. Go to the grocery store when you need to.
Yep.
But
and just shut down.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
I think it's beautiful because the earth is able to come back. Like they're saying that there are animals that are returning to like the Grand Canyon that had vacated the Grand Canyon because of humans. And I mean, dude, this is like for the earth, for the Mother Earthers out there. This is a beautiful time for them because we have eliminated the humanicity of nature, and it's coming back. It's flourishing right now. The earth is going to be so beautiful when this thing is over for about 2 weeks until we fuck it up again.
Yeah. We should do this every year though, and it's kind of nice to just like have an excuse to have some R&R. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't get this kind of just R&R. Just go home and chillax. Although, you know, it sucks that people are losing their jobs, of course.
Yeah,
but
that's the bad part.
Yeah, people getting laid off left and right. But, you know, if you want to look at the positives of it, that's definitely a couple right there. They're saying air pollution in China is the lowest it's ever been.
They're saying the same thing here in America as well, that our gas, because there's less cars on the road, our air quality, LA reported it first. LA said that, oh my God, you can almost see the sun.
Yeah, I mean, like the big one in China is they have a lot of big factories out there that create a lot of pollution, and without the those factories up and running, the air pollution has gotten beautiful. Speaking of Mother Earthers, did you hear about Jared Leto?
No, I didn't hear about Jared Leto.
You know who Jared Leto is, though, right?
Jared Leto is an actor, and did he or did he not play Joker at one point?
He did play Joker. Requiem for a Dream. He's in a band called 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah, wasn't he Joker in Suicide Squad?
Correct.
Yes, I saw Suicide Squad last night on TV. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that movie sucks.
I love that movie. What the hell are you talking about? I love that movie.
But he recently just came out, like, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. He came out. He's like, hey, I just spent 2 weeks in meditation. And what the hell's going on? He doesn't even know what's going on right now.
Dude, that's how short of a time frame this has been. I was just looking at my calendar yesterday, and I'm like, I went and picked up my kid from school on March 9th, and the world was great. On March 10th, the world stopped turning. It's almost like we need to hold down the power button and reset 2020.
Yeah. I remember when 2020 started, I'm like, this is my year. This is the one.
Yeah.
This is the one. It's going to be life-changing. I'm going to go to so many concerts. I'm going to have so many parties. I'm going to do so much. And then here I am just sitting in my house not doing anything. Can't even do my damn podcast with you.
I can't do any of my podcast either, man. It sucks. Everybody is scrambling. It's, dude, the rapid change, how fast this happened was what's
it's
so
fast
crazy.
that Jared Leto went into quarantine by himself, and now he has to go back into quarantine.
It's crazy, man. And
he's like, I wanted to meditate, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, but you know what? Introverts, we're not having a problem with this. Extroverts, they are going insane.
If you play video games, you're all about this. If you read books, you're all about this.
Yeah. It's crazy, but it's like, okay, so like there's like little things that are kind of like offsetting my day where like I can't find my work gloves. And I'm like, oh crap, I need more work gloves. Do I go to Home Depot and get more work gloves? You know? And those are the kind of things that I'm like kind of stressing over a little bit. Like, do I do that or do I not do it?
Yeah. It's like if you have things to buy, you're like, you might as well let it build up a bit, so then you only have to make one trip later down the line.
I was getting ready to remodel my downstairs powder room, and I've kind of like put that on hold. Well, the one thing that's holding us up is that I can't get any respirators because you can't go break up tile without a respirator on. You don't want to breathe in all that stuff, cut up the inside of your lungs. So I'm kind of like holding. That's just been in a back order with Amazon for about a week now. It keeps getting pushed out.
A lot of what's it called? Construction workers are donating a lot of their supplies to, because they wear masks and stuff. They're starting to donate a lot of their stuff to hospitals, which is kind of a beautiful thing to see as well.
Did you purposely freeze your video feed?
No, but that's okay. But
It's throwing me off.
I was watching the local news the other day. This is sort of a downer though, and they were interviewing a police officer, and he said, now that everyone is at home quarantined, the amount of domestic abuse has gone up substantially.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the saddest parts of all of this is if you're in an abusive relationship and now you're just stuck with this person. That is just horrible, man.
It
got
is
nothing to say about that.
Even like kids that,
yeah,
abusive relationships with kids, that kids that are neglected. And, not to bring a down spot, but I mean, it's true. There's also kids that are in lower income households that 5 days a week, they depended on breakfast at school and lunch at school. And now they're having to be home for 3 meals a day. And that's an additional struggle. And a lot of those kids' parents work for organizations that are closed, like Talking Stick Resort, they were a greeter at the door, or things like that, so it's a bad situation for a group of our community right now. But on the lighter note of that is a lot of organizations and a lot of individuals and celebrities are stepping up. Like Rosie O'Donnell on Sunday is doing a Rosie O'Donnell show on Instagram to raise money for families like that.
That's good. And I've seen a lot of schools offering to still provide lunch for kids who need it. I've seen some restaurants actually handing out lunches and sandwiches to kids who need it that aren't getting fed, because that is true. A lot of kids rely on that food.
My buddy at AZ Barbecue is doing the exact same thing. He was donating foods to food banks. And what's interesting is that the food banks in Arizona aren't necessarily asking for additional donations. They're actually asking for volunteers to be able to sort and pack the donations. So that's a good thing.
No one wants
for
to
right
go
now.
there right now.
Yeah, nobody wants to be in a group of people wearing red shirts, packing up canned goods. But the good thing is that the food banks aren't saying, hey, we don't have any food. What banks are saying they are running out of supplies of are the blood banks. The blood banks are saying that they need people to donate.
Yeah, because a lot of donation centers are being closed down right now. So
that's the reason why there's a shortage, because people can't get to the places to donate blood,
Yeah, there's definitely some more. How long do you think this will go on for? What do you think?
I'm feeling by the towards the end of March, I think we're going to have a handle on this. I think we're probably looking at maybe about another couple of weeks before we have a deeper grasp on what's going on.
I'm almost thinking that this could go all the way till early May.
Nah, I don't think so.
I really think it could go that long.
No, I'm thinking the next couple of weeks. And not to sound like the Pawn Wars guy or the Pawn Stars guy again, but I got some pretty good
guy.
I know a guy. I got some pretty good intel.
Let's call him on the phone.
Of that we're probably looking at a couple of more weeks out for this thing before, not saying that it's going to go away, not saying that life is going to completely return back to normal, but I will say that I'm confident in the next couple of weeks we're going to have a better grasp on this. But I do feel this way, and I know that we get political a lot on this show sometimes.
And it was never the intention.
It never was.
It just happens.
But you know what? I will say this, Jake. You're like the only person that I can have a political conversation with and not want to punch you in your fucking face. I
mean, You do. It's just because you always want to punch me in my face. So what's the difference?
I love your face, even though I can see up your nose right now because you have horrible self-production. And thank God that this isn't a video podcast.
Well, that's why it's like that, because whatever.
But I will say this: I think that this whole handling of this situation, when the dust does settle, I think the dust will reveal the nails in someone's coffin. I think that this is going to be the nail in the orange face's coffin.
Maybe. I mean,
I think it is. I think he screwed the pooch, bro.
Did you see that video of the person asking him, why do you keep calling it the China virus? It's like, it's from China. It's from China.
Dude, this isn't a time for him to start pointing fingers. This isn't a time for him to start firing off and yelling at the media.
You know what, though? I am going to say this. I think we need to acknowledge it is from China. And
yes, it is. They were playing with fucking bats.
Yeah, and their lack of food hygiene is a huge problem.
It's been a huge problem for years.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. And a lot of these pandemics come from China, or as Trump would say, China. And it's worth talking about. But I was watching one interview with Trump, and this made me die laughing, dude. Some reporter asked him, so, a lot of Americans right now are panicking. They're having a little bit of anxiety. What would you say to those people right now?
Oh, boy.
And his response was, you're a terrible reporter.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's what he said. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
No, I saw that
pretty
live.
much exactly.
That's exactly what happened, dude. I saw that live. I saw that live.
You're a terrible reporter.
And my hands just
You must be from China.
My hands just went into my face, man. My hands just went into my face. I'm like, this is the leader of the free world. And
yeah, I mean,
he couldn't pull an ounce of sensitivity or compassion out of his ass if he attached it to a tractor.
This reporter was literally giving him an opportunity to say something really good. Like, that is such a setup to, like, make yourself look really good. And he just totally was like, you're a bad reporter. You're probably from China.
In media, we call that a softball question. And he punted. He punted. He couldn't be. I mean, I feel sorry for what's his wife's name? The Zyborg.
Melania.
I feel sorry for Melania if she's having an emotional day. Because he probably would hire one of the aides to go in there and hug her. This is a time where America needs to be reassured and America needs to be coddled and comforted. Yeah. That's what needs to happen right now. Not him being his bloviating self.
It's sad when you're like, man, I wish Bush was back in office. That's a cold day in hell, isn't it?
I mean, he does press conferences just to give us updates, which some of the updates are good, but he's not giving press conferences to comfort a fearful society right now.
And I appreciate, is his name Anthony Fauci? What's his name?
I don't know. I just know him as Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, Dr. Fauci. I appreciate that every time Trump goes up there and says some bullshit.
Yep.
Fauci is always right behind him saying, no, that's not accurate. And he's not getting fired for it either because...
Not yet.
I think... Well, maybe after this is all over, but...
Not yet. I don't think...
But I think Trump realizes, like, hey, this is a bit out of my league. Like...
Do you realize...
If you watch Trump, like, during these press conferences, he seems more uncomfortable than usual. And I think it's because he's like, wow, I was not expecting to deal with something like this. He probably would have handled a war pretty well, but, like, this is something else.
I think, one thing that I observed during these press conferences is that Trump never steps back from the podium. he'll step off to the side, but he never steps back from the podium.
He's always front and center.
Which makes me think that he honestly doesn't. His body language says, I don't trust these people. I don't trust. I know better than them. That's what his body language is signaling. And if he had an aide that was ballsy enough to step up to him and let him know that and tell him that, then they would say that your body language is saying something different than what's coming out of your mouth. I don't
trust them. They're probably from China.
A second thing that is catching me during these press conferences is how much Mike Pence just wants to give Trump an old snarling. I mean, if those cameras weren't there, Mike Pence would be on his knees gurgling his nutsack.
That's so true, dude. Mike Pence does.
He is in love with that man. And it's almost like Stockholm syndrome, because Mike Pence has been so beat down that he has had no other choice, but his anger and his fear has manifested into love and admiration.
Well, Pence has been, anti-gay even up until this day. And you know what they say about people who are so against gay people?
Though he protests too much.
Yeah. He's probably a little gay himself. So
I think he protests too much, because when you got someone that protests too much about one thing or another, especially homosexuality, there might be some suppressed feelings that are going on there.
Definitely. But I was going to say this about Trump. Like, not only does Trump not know how to take care of the American people, but he just makes the rest of the world just hate us, because he is essentially exactly the stereotype the rest of the world has about us.
Yep.
We're obese.
Yep.
We're loud. We're ignorant. We're privileged.
Yep.
And he exudes all of that, and it just makes all of us look really bad. And I have this fear, because it's seemingly going to be him versus Biden. I have this fear that Biden just could not hold his own in a debate with him.
I agree with you 100%, man. I think Biden is too melancholy, and when Biden gets frazzled, he doesn't speak right. He doesn't speak properly. He gets twisted up. He trips over his word. He has an old man moment, and I think Trump is going to shake him to his core, because I guarantee you that Trump will always play dirty. He is going to swing at the fences for Biden. If nothing else, Trump will do it so that he'll get the headlines, and Biden won't.
And Biden, Biden just, he gets triggered very easily. There's so many examples of him. Someone just saying the smallest thing, and he'll just retort and say something really stupid in response.
And see,
I don't have a good example on me right now, but you could look it up. He always says some stupid shit, and I just don't think he's going to be able to even come close to how Trump is able to debate.
No, Biden is easily shaken, and even when he does go on the attack, it's not an effective attack. It's not his way. He doesn't have the ability to retort back in an eloquent way to shut down the offense. He doesn't have a strong defense when he's shaken. Now, when he was in that debate with Bernie, and it was just him and Bernie in that studio, in the CNN studios for Telemundo, and it was just him and Bernie, the commentators, and a couple of camera people. I don't even think they had camera people. I think they had the robot cameras in,
probably,
and stuff like that. And he was poised. He was relaxed. He was able to eloquently retort some of the things that Bernie was saying. Now, yes, a lot of that debate was, him and Bernie kissy facing a lot, but
yep.
I've said it from the beginning, bruh. I don't think that Bernie nor Biden are going to be able to get down and dirty with Trump. Trump is going to play dirty. Clinton couldn't take him on. Bernie's not going to be able to take him on, and Biden sure is not going to be able to take him on. Biden's going to come out of his face and say something that he shouldn't have said.
I'm personally of the opinion that Bernie would have been able to at least hold his own a little bit, because what Bernie does is he always comes back with statistics, and a lot of people love statistics, and Trump cannot retort statistics.
But he'll but Trump will make up the statistics and present them in a way that is confident and believable. Yeah. And it's not going to be until an hour or two later when we have the Trump fact checkers come up and say he was wrong.
Isn't it bullshit that he could get away with that? Because he does that all the time.
He does it all the time. And
it's so crazy.
Bernie has the statistics. He's got the brain for the statistics. But when you up there and your hands are shaking and you're spitting all over yourself, you know, Trump is going to eat that alive.
The 20% of the 30% of the 40% of the 20% of the 25%. That's Bernie.
Trump is going to sit there and Trump is the bully.
All I can say about Biden is I hope he has some meetings with Obama, because Obama was one of our most poised presidents of all time. He was so good at giving a speech when things were looking down. He was always able to come out and make you feel good.
And
you know,
and the reason why Obama was able to do a lot of that, because Obama had an amazing group of people, writers, script writers, aides that that wrote things for him. Now, when you're familiar with
it's
this,
not only that. I think like also Obama, like he had this presence about him that just made you feel comfortable, and he was confident but sort of soft spoken but firm. I don't know. There was something about him, and I think Biden could take some lessons from him.
There is a way that when script writers and speech writers understand a person's personality, they can write to that person's personality. They do it all the time, like with script writers in Hollywood. They will write so that someone's natural personality is spotlit and shown and comes to the forefront.
Of course, yeah.
And I think that's what Obama has. Trump, I think, has fired all those people and thinks that, because when he does try to work the teleprompter, it's like a 4-year-old trying to read you a Mother Goose rhyme.
But maybe he does have people that understand his personality, because whatever he's doing seems to work for a lot of the country. So, maybe they're playing it up because they know exactly who he is.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know, but I agree with you. I don't think Biden has a snowball's chance in hell when he is going to be on a stage with him on one side and Trump on the other. I don't think Biden has a chance.
Yeah. I don't know. Either way, it's not great. I'm not a huge Biden fan, but
not either.
I'm not either. I guess I'd prefer him over Trump.
It's going to be interesting, bro. It's going to be very, very interesting as far as what is going to take place, because I didn't think any, even when you go back to 3 months ago, I didn't think any of the Democrat hopefuls had a chance against him, because everybody just seems too soft. And I understand, they're trying to apply that theory that Michelle Obama introduced in the last year or during the Clinton campaign, that, when they go low, you go high. I don't think that's going to work, because the Trump campaign has stirred up all the bottom feeders, bruh. They want to stay low.
It's true. It's true. But, I think Biden, at the very least, unlike Bernie, I think Biden can appeal to a more right-wing demographic than Bernie could. And I think that's something he'll need to win the election, because he's going to need to pull some of those people that feel disenfranchised by Trump.
Women and minorities. And women and minorities is what is going to be needed for Biden to get. And I think that he has a chance, because who are the biggest supporters behind Obama? Women and minorities. And Trump has alienated women and minorities.
Yeah, but if you look at the last election, a lot of the people who voted for Trump were women. I think women, I don't want to speak out of term here, but I think a lot of women see Trump as a strong guy. And
not anymore. They did back
Who
then.
knows?
And there's been a lot of people that have come out and said, hey, I voted for him in 2016 because we know people wanted something different. People did not want another 4 years of the Clinton era. People wanted the Clinton era over. And people saw some, and I did. I was one of those people. I didn't vote for Trump, but I was one of those people at one point that said, this is this is what America needs. We need someone that's not a politician. We need someone that has an outsider's view. We need someone, the closest to us, the closest to an actual American was a Donald Trump versus a Hillary Clinton. The Clinton era, Hillary Clinton was so far detached from reality. We had someone that we saw in Trump that he would be closer to who we are. I will honestly say now we were dead wrong. And I think that a lot of people are going to feel that way.
I think a lot of people are feeling kind of silly right now who
egg on the face,
who were adamantly against universal health care. And now we're in a situation where we kind of need it for a lot of Americans who are losing jobs. We have a pandemic going on.
Yep.
And they're saying, hey, we're going to make this particular thing free in healthcare. But now people are starting to realize, hey, now I kind of understand, like, if you get cancer, we need something like this. Like, I can't see a world after this where we don't have universal healthcare. I don't know where you stand on that, but
not to sound like Rick, but of course, I know a guy in the healthcare industry. And I don't think that universal healthcare is going to be birthed from this, but I also think that some fine tuning to the Obamacare program will be birthed out of this. Some fine tuning to that, because the Obamacare program is not 100% perfect, but I think that some fine tuning needs to be done to that. I don't think it needs to be blown up, but I don't think universal health care is going to come out of it, because you have to look at the fact that France has universal health care.
Yeah.
And they just buried 1,100 people yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know if that's because of universal health care or because they just didn't handle the situation properly.
A little bit of it might be a little bit of both, because what happens is that you have people that are afraid of going to a doctor. You have people that because it will absolutely bankrupt them. And dude, I have the health insurance of a Sultan Prince. And every time I go to the doctors, and I've told you a little bit about some of the health issues that I've been dealing with, but every time I go to the doctor, I end up getting a bill. I literally got a bill yesterday from a doctor's office. And I'm like, what am I paying $500? What are $500 a month coming out of my check for? And I'm still getting a mother effing bill from my doctor's offices. So yeah, I think that universal health care has a higher level of fear in people, that they don't want to go see a doctor. They want to self-medicate themselves in order to avoid having a big, huge bill at the end of the day that will end up bankrupting them. But okay, you'll feel better, but you'll be bankrupt and you won't be able to eat, but you feel better.
Yeah. And I think that's a bad thing.
It's horrible.
Because I mean, that's preventing people who should probably go to the doctor to go to the doctor.
Our Medicare people, our geriatric patients, those are people that are afraid of going because they live on a limited income. And if they go see a doctor because they're having COVID-19 symptoms, and they decide not to go because they're like, crap, if I do go to the doctor and feel better, I'm not going to be able to live and eat. So they actually, in America healthcare, the way that our healthcare system is designed, for the most part, it's cheaper to die.
Yeah. In a lot of cases it is.
It's cheaper to die.
Yeah. And that's why I think universal healthcare just seems like the right direction. It's the direction we're moving in. The other thing that I think people probably feel pretty silly about is a few months ago, Andrew Yang was running on the freedom dividend, and that was his whole position, was that he was going to give out $1,000 a month to every American citizen that signed up for it.
That sounds familiar.
And everyone's like, you're ridiculous. That's stupid. And Trump now is saying, hey, we might send out $1,500 to every American citizen during the pandemic. And it's like, Andrew Yang's in the corner like, what the fuck, bruh? I've been saying that since before this pandemic.
And here's the question for all.
And also, everyone's like, where do we get this money? And then out of nowhere, every week we're giving $1 trillion to the banks. Where's that money coming from? Where was that money before? I thought we didn't have money. So, I mean, it's all bullshit, man.
It is.
It's all bullshit.
The question also begs, all of those people that say, not my president, are you also going to say, not my check?
Oh, whatever, man.
You know, come on. People were saying, not my president, me being one of them. Are you going to return that check?
Let's be real. Let's be real. That idea to give out money to people was not Trump's idea.
Of course not.
Yeah, if it were up to Trump, he would not give money to anyone.
No, he'd be putting money in Mar-a-Lago hotels.
Yeah. And you know, the reason they're going to give money to everyone is because they want to prevent riots in the streets. Because as soon as people don't have money, that's when hostilities will go up.
Well, and I hate to be...
It's almost like a bribe to get people to not
And I
riot.
hate to be the rumor mill, but there is a rumor that law enforcement offices are being diverted away from small petty crimes and being more focused on bigger crimes, as far as keeping crowds controlled and keeping grocery stores from being ransacked and stuff like that. So basically saying that you can go and rob a convenience store, but you can't go with 10 people into a grocery store.
Well, I don't know.
That's
about
a rumor. Rumor.
I don't know about the whole robbing a grocery store, but I mean, maybe pickpocketing a fucking pack of gum won't get you arrested.
Well,
right
you
now.
won't get pickpocketed if your ass is self-quarantined.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, and you're probably going to see less speeding tickets right now as well. I mean, stuff like that, probably because they'd rather have the cops that they need to have on. And why put someone at risk just for a speeding ticket?
And,
you know what I mean?
And what if you come across an asshole that doesn't want to get arrested? I even hate to put this out there, but you might cut this out. But what if you have an asshole criminal that doesn't want to get arrested because he's got a half a kilo of weed up his ass, so he decides to turn around and cough in an officer's face?
Well, first of all,
just to get out of going to jail.
First of all, why are you putting half a kilo up your ass of weed?
Because it's fun.
Weed's pretty much legal here. I mean, shit. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I've noticed it at my job. I'm a supervisor at a group home, and I've noticed people have been calling out. They're like, "Oh yeah, I think I have a little bit of a cough," and it's like, yeah, I'm sure you do. People are just they're gonna take advantage of that stuff too.
And there are going to be a sector of people that are end up taking advantage of it. And you know what? That's the part that puts an extra strain on the entire system, are the people that take advantage of it. I mean, it's the reason why our access healthcare system is strained. That's the reason why our low income housing programs are strained, because people want to be lazy and take the road of less resistance, which if they just got up off their asses and worked a little harder, they could afford some things in life. But they decide to say, oh wait, there's a government program that I will be able to suck the teat of and get by a little easier, and allows me to be a burden on society. Right now, we don't need burdens on our society.
Yeah, well, we've already got tons of burdens in our society. It's called the Senate.
That's a huge, and the Supreme Court.
It's called the president. It's called our entire government. Did you hear about the quote unquote insider trading that's going on in the Senate right now?
I heard about some people that were selling off some stocks because they heard about
1.7 million.
It's not really considered insider trading because they're not getting like a direct. I mean, basically, there's no way that this is a crime. It's not a federal crime what they're doing. It's a moral issue, but it's not a federal crime because just because they heard something on the news or they read something on the CDC website and they decided to sell off stocks, there's nothing illegal about it.
It's just crazy that these guys who are supposed to be quote unquote public servants make millions of dollars. Well, our nurses, our teachers, our whatever it is, police officers, firefighters are just barely scraping by.
Yeah, I saw somebody online post up a meme that said, I've been homeschooling my child for the last 3 hours. Teachers need to be making $1 million a year.
Yeah, they should be making what CEOs make for sure. I mean, it's just crazy, like how much money these people in like the Senate, the electoral college or whatever the hell it is.
Oh God,
these people just make tons of money, so much money, and like if we cut their salaries like in half, how much would that save our country? And how more likely would that leave us to have universal health care and it not be an issue? People always talk about like, where does the money come from? Well, where does the money come from to pay all these people such high premiums for their shitty jobs where they stay at home most of the time, except for once a month when they go have a meeting in Washington, D.C. or whatever the fuck it is. It's just a bunch of bullshit, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
If we cut those salaries, I think it's going to be more detrimental to us in the end. And here's my reasoning why. We cut the salaries of the Senate and the Congress. What's going to end up happening is that in order to supplement their salary and their incomes, they're going to take more interest money. They're going to take more corporate monies, which means that the corporations and businesses are going to buy up these congressmen and senators so that these congressmen and senators can continue their way of life.
Well, maybe we should implement more laws that are like, hey, if we find out you're taking corporate money to push your position one way or the other, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to lose your job. And in fact, you could even potentially get jail time. Because, I mean, to me, that there's nothing more corrupt than looking at the money over your citizens when you're supposed to be a public servant. You're supposed to be there for me. You're not supposed to be there for your pocketbook and the pocketbooks of already billionaires. Like it doesn't make sense. And yeah, maybe these people will be like, well, why am I doing this job? Well, they'll leave and we'll get people that want to be public servants, because trust me, there are people that want to do it.
Yeah.
And there would be people who would do it and probably do a much better job making less money.
But I will tell you, dude, at the end of the day, money talks, bullshit walks. And when these, every politician, Congress, senator, House representatives, president, vice president, they can all be bought and sold to the highest bidder. We call them lobbyists. We call them special interest groups.
Yep. And it's bullshit.
I agree. It's horrible. I wish somebody would buy me.
Yeah. Well, if you go down to the corner of Van Buren, you might have a shot at that.
I tried, but Covina is out there with her little daughter virus, and and she's out there infected everybody. I mean, I wonder I wonder if COVID-19 is affecting the prostitution industry. How's Vegas doing? Anybody check in on Vegas?
Well, all of Vegas, the strip is completely shut down right now.
That's cool. Maybe they can clean it up and scrape off some of that gum.
It's eerie. Like I've seen some videos of like the casino floors and the strip. Like it's empty.
It's wild.
It's so eerie.
It's cool though.
Yeah, but I was really wondering. This is the important question here. Like one of the most important questions I've had this entire podcast. what's going to happen to my porn? You know?
Nothing, because Pornhub has seen a spike in activity.
Well, of course, but like, what about new porn? You know, who's going to be making the new porn right now?
You got to trust me. If this thing isn't going to go much longer, there's a whole lot of porn that hasn't even been released yet. One thing you can do from home, ladies and gentlemen, is edit your porn clips. And also, you know who else is seeing a spike in revenue and business? And this is where your new porn is coming from. OnlyFans.com. There are so many people flocking to OnlyFan.com right now to start there. And I'll be the first to say I've spent probably about $40 in the last week on just OnlyFans.com memberships.
Hell yeah, dude.
Now I'm gonna cancel them all in 30 days, but I'll drop the $40 right now. No, I'm kidding.
I would happily take a sponsorship from OnlyFans.
Oh, 100. Well, you will. 100%. I think you should start an OnlyFans account.
Yeah, it'll just be pictures of my hand. I'm selling hand pics.
Hey, there's a market out there for it, man. Don't underestimate it. There's a market out there for people that want to see fat people like me shake it and grind it. There's people out there that want to see that too.
Well, on that note, I think we should start wrapping it up here. But I just want to say, like, maybe next week we'll try a little harder to like talk about something different. But it's kind of impossible to talk about
it literally is.
Anything else right now because it's just affecting everything. So no matter what, it's probably going to come up next week.
I mean, what are we going to do here? Sit here and every show that I'm a part of right now, this is the concept. It's virtually impossible. You
can't avoid it. I mean, I'd love to just be super happy-go-lucky, but it's kind of impossible right now. I mean, we're definitely trying to keep it more upbeat. We were just talking about porn a second ago, and
I love talking porn with you.
But I like having a genuine conversation, and that's what we'll continue to do.
And we're also giving both views. We're not all fire and brimstones. We're also giving some highlights of it. And the thing is, Jake, I will say this. The Jake and Cory podcast, if anything else, it's giving people something to do right now.
For sure.
It's giving people something to do. And even now that we've got our hopefully after this episode, if everything works out, maybe we can do more than just one show a week just to kind of do our little part on giving people another level of escape.
Yeah,
I'm willing to do that.
If it comes to that, yeah. I mean, and
that was you saying no. That was you saying no.
No, I'm down to do that for sure. But like, it's just, this is probably going to go on for at least another couple weeks, if not a couple months. So, I mean, it's going to be impossible to avoid this topic. So
it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard, but I mean,
if you don't want to hear us talk about it, you know what? Don't fucking listen then, huh? Why don't you go watch something else, you loser?
How about I take this approach for those of you that don't want to hear us talking about COVID-19? Down in the comments section here on the YouTube page, give us a topic that you'd like to hear Jake and Cory discuss.
Or you could just go fuck yourself.
Jake, man of the people. Man of the people.
Yeah. On that note, it's been fun, Cory. It's been an interesting one. But we'll see it. We'll see you next week for sure.
Definitely. I love you, man. I love doing this show, and I think people are gonna enjoy it. They really are.
Yep. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff.
Share.
Bye-bye.
Bye.